Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to Half Hour Drawings. This is the first experiment in this series, so I'm going to start the clock now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be using Krita to, just do a drawing. This is my reference right here, so. Alright, so this is going to be very rough because I have no idea uh, how to really use Krita yet, so, I'm just experimenting a little bit. So, smear brush. So I need a good brush to start out with. See, I like this one. Don't like how it moves so much, only because it really freaks me out. It's fine, it's a little thin. It's not even the right color that I want to go for, but it doesn't really matter too much. We'll get there. So this one has like a little bit of nice texture to it. It's fine. Let's see. Circle ones, circle brushes. More like pens. I am using a Wacom, just regular bamboo, probably the low end of the series. Favorite presets, nothing I like there. Sleeves, well, that's different than what I thought it would be. So I'm working on a half-hour timer here. So we'll see how far we can get in this drawing, and then once half an hour is up, we'll call it time and go on from there. Black mix tilt. Alright. So, like I said, this is my reference image right there, so we'll get started. So I'm going to start out just by grabbing, I don't know, any shade of blue. Doesn't really matter too much, I'll fix it in a minute. I'm just going to start blocking in a little bit of color back here. Now the reason I'm using Krita is just because I really do like just the fact that it records. I'm using Cam Studio to record, and I'm using Krita because it will actually show up. The only problem, I do have Photoshop on my computer, but it tends to freeze for some reason. And then I've got to do a little bit of finagling just to get it back and get it working again, so I really don't like this brush all of a sudden. It's taking too long. Let's see what wet does. A little spray can, doing nothing. It's hard to tell now. So the colors are coming in, clearly pressure sensitive, but not sure if I like that. I'm gonna end up liking that the more that I do this, just because I like the color variation. I like how it's, coming in and giving me kind of like a messy painter look. So if I had more time in that regard, then I would enjoy that much better. Alright, going back to this one. Alright, probably just gonna skip a lot of the actual, blocking sketching phase, and just kind of go right into the painting. We can always just work our paint around and do it that way, go from there. So don't be afraid just to get onto the canvas and start blocking in some images. So one of the hardest things to do is kind of just get your colors down. So as I'm doing this, I'm thinking of, is this color too light? Is this color too saturated? Am I in the right range of hue? All that kind of stuff. So, and I usually don't like to color pick from the actual image. Just kind of like to use my eyeball and see what I can see. So, a lot of times I notice that my colors that I actually put onto the canvas end up coming in a little too desaturated for what I really want to go for. So the big challenge to myself is just to be able to, really boost my colors and the saturation that I use. And then our head goes all the way up here. I'll probably have to take down the body and size a little bit. Sorry if you can hear the clock in the background. I kind of like the size of the body a little bit. It doesn't matter too much to me if we lose a little bit of the hair. Just because. Okay. So I am not sure too much about my tools. I'm really good in Photoshop with maneuvering around with my tools. Here, not so much. This is I downloaded Creator a couple days ago on a recommendation from an art stream, and they end up not even using Creator just because it didn't suit their purposes. It wasn't recording. But for me, in Cam Studio, I'm getting it to record, so it's suiting my purposes. All right. I think I want to go for a warm tone. I'm looking at this, the shadows in the face here. I think I want to go for a warm tone that's pretty desaturated. Yeah, I like that. And we'll just block it in. The nose will go somewhere around here, come down into the face, or into the mouth area. And just kind of get, a general idea of where you want to put most of your colors and lines and all of that kind of stuff. So, just go get some dark color here. Get an idea of where the mouth kind of opens up here. And put in some red for the lips. The mouth is coming up pretty wide here, so. A lot of what I like about this image is just the facial, structure and expression. So whenever I, go for any type of painting or anything like that, that's some of the stuff that I look for. Not what I really need, because, oh, there it is. Photoshop has, its color picker going for it in that sense. And that's very, very important. You need to be able to not, before I was using the keys, if you noticed earlier, I hovered over the color picker here just to see what the shortcut key was and the hotkey. Not very advantageous for when you're painting. So yeah, so here, and if anyone wants to follow along or anything, B is for brush, P is for color picker. The control hotkey gives you color picker as well, like that. So I just want to, use Krita just to get the word out about Krita, that it is a free, open source, kind of Photoshop-ish software. So that's very good, for anyone who doesn't have Photoshop or can't afford it or anything like that, and wants to do a little, a little finagling, a little work, just like this. Maybe follow along. Maybe you've always, dreamt of, following some of your favorite YouTubers or anything like that, and just going along with their tutorial as they, as they just do some kind of digital painting or anything like that, and you didn't have the software, or, I don't know, even if you don't have a Bamboo or, tablet or anything like that, it makes it very, very easy to work with. Anything that's, in my opinion, I want to move her mouth down a little bit. I forget what my marquee is. I move. Let's see. No, wait, this is just. Oh, Alright, we're not going to do that. Just because I don't understand how it works exactly. And I don't know how to deselect. So, I'm just going to click. And it should have. Picking the wrong color here. So that took care of it. Just kind of left a weird line there, but whatever. So we'll just keep plugging through. See, because I want. I want her eye to be there. See, because her nose is way too high right now, I want her nose more like down there. And I realized this a little while ago. This was probably going to be too high. So, but yeah, the purpose of what I'm doing this for is just to help people, start something, doing something myself. First of all, I want to be able to put some work out there, help people out if they wanna do anything like this. Even even if you don't have a Bamboo tablet, you can still do it just with a mouse and go from there. It's all just in fun, and that's partially why I do this half-hour drawing in the morning. Just to just to get better. Two, because why not? It's just for fun. Helps you get better, and it gives you a little bit of time. This is a tip from another artist. What he does in the morning and all that to get ready. To start his day, just as an experiment, as a technique, training tool. Gives you time to actually do it. That's what a lot of people get hung up on, is time. I know I do, especially when I come home after work. And you always wonder, what do you want to work on, because we have some other projects and stuff like that going on. So I'm like, yeah, I only have so much time in the day, so I could either, monkey around and just do something seemingly worthless like this, or I could actually get down to real business of other matters. So time is always, always, always a factor. Yeah, so Krita is the name of the software, Krita. And when I post up this video, I'll probably add a link to it so that other people can, get there easy. Struggling a little bit just to try to bring back the mouth, but it's no matter at all when you just keep painting. So if you ever run into a situation like that, just keep painting. Don't worry about anything. I'm not really using any undos. Actually, I don't think I've touched Control Z. It's probably too much of a a new software for me to really think about doing that. Plus, I've kind of trained myself, in the stylings of some other painters and stuff like that. Who anyone like Fangzu will give you the advice, try to take your hand off the Control Z. That's one of the painters that I watch, digital painters, on YouTube. One of my idols, like everyone else, is Bob Ross. So yeah. I don't know exactly where we are in the time, but I'm not really too concerned. The clock ends when the clock ends, so we're just here to have fun and see how far we can get. It's not, unlike some of the other tutorials and stuff like that, it's not really a race to try and like beat your time, from yesterday or anything like that. Like, just take it slow, get as far as you can go. If you really set your mind to it, you'll try and go further than the day before, but there's nothing that says that you have to. So, and especially while doing these tutorials here, uh, or half-hour drawing sessions, the primary goal is just to look at our reference and understand it. That's it. On the very first day that I did this, actually, I only got down like 7 strokes. It was terrible. It was a landscape painting that I was trying to do, and I only got down like 7 strokes, like I said, because I ran into a bunch of different difficulties between my tablet driver wasn't working, and all this kind of other stuff. And I had to just, restart my computer and do this and do that, and, it's in the morning, so you got to kind of prep for the rest of the day while doing this. You got to build this in too, getting up a little bit earlier just to be able to take some time to do something like this. But it is definitely worth it. And on the first day that I tried this, I only got down just a little bit because once I finally got started, my time ran up, and I just said, okay, whatever, we're done here. So yeah. Now, as I choose these colors, and it did take a while, so if you're struggling or wondering, how I'm choosing the colors quickly like this, or arbitrarily in my case, because I'm not really that good at choosing colors, it does take time. I'm still learning how to pick my colors, but it does take some time to figure out how to get an eye to separate your colors. And I think that's what, a lot of people like display it or talk about it. Um, when you hear about it, you're like, oh, color relations and whatever else, and they'll like do that test where they take like a same color gray square and put it on 2 different backgrounds or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, look how green it looks here, and look how warm it looks here, or whatever, but to really understand it for yourself. And I saw this in one of the earlier paintings that I did. This isn't actually the first painting in this half-hour drawing sessions that I've been doing. This is actually probably day 38, I think it is. But I really saw it one day when drawing just kind of like an army guy walking in the desert. So he's dressed in tan. The desert, of course, is kind of orangish tannish, and working from just a little bit of color theory. The sky looks blue, but a trade secret is that you hardly ever go from one extreme on the color wheel to another extreme. So, and you don't really work from like a hot orange like this over into a blue unless there is a light source that dictates that. What I mean by that is unless there's a warm light source hitting one side and a cool light source hitting the other, then you can do that. But most of the time, if you want to go make like a desert scene, maybe I might choose my sandy colors in this range, and for my sky color, which looked blue, I can move all the way over here, probably about there, and that will trick the eye because of the relation of the colors into thinking that this desaturated color is so much cooler than the orange, the warm orange that I had from a moment ago, that it thinks that I just colored the sky blue, but it didn't. So working the figure into the drawing, I was able to see how he transitioned from that desaturated tone where his upper body was in the sky, to working into the oranges and the tans of the sand. It was very interesting. Alright, I want to go for something for her hair. So for this, I'm just going to start out very dark, because why not? It helps you get some of your ideas down for color and so forth. And what I mean by that is that you just put in a color, any color, doesn't matter what color. Well, this is more desaturated. You can start refining from there. All I need to do is just kind of block in all of this area just to get an understanding of where your shapes are. Once you have your shapes down, and maybe if you want to go for some value or anything like that, that's why I changed to a more desaturated color here. Doesn't really have to do with value, but I just wanted to get a better idea of a dark here. Let me just switch over real quick. Work on the background just for a second. So all your colors are always in relation to each other, but don't worry too much about the color. Just keep going. We can always fix the color later, especially with these projects. You're not going to get all that far just in a half hour, so don't be afraid to take your time with some of these paintings, and don't be afraid to speed through. Don't always go for the most perfect detail or anything like that. We just want to get down a little bit of what we're going for. So, okay, so this color is pretty close to her hair color, or in some parts and all of that. So we'll work with that just for a little bit. Like over here in this part of her hair, gets a little bit lighter, so you get that sheen, that highlight. I can move over here and be like, bam, look at that. So, and right here, same thing. So yeah, just put in your colors, put in any colors. We can always go back and refine them from there. And I'm wondering if I want to move her down at all. It'll be fine. It's fine. And I don't know why those pop-ups always keep coming up, but I don't think I've had any problems with Krita in the way that Photoshop has a problem with some of those pop-ups. It's very disorienting though to have to deal with control being the color picker. I'll have to go in and change that in the settings. But usually when a pop-up like that comes through, Photoshop usually gives you like this just smear all of a sudden on the canvas. It's very annoying. But I don't think I've noticed that from Krita yet. Fix a little bit of her nose, because that's really holding her back at the moment. A lot of the stuff here is just holding her back, but won't get too carried away. Her mouth could be a little bigger too, but I completely lost that line from earlier. So I try and get in some of the shape of the head again. It is very important to me to make sure to get that looking right. So hopefully I didn't jump around too much. A little warmer color there. Hopefully I didn't jump around too much trying to explain stuff and, got back to it in its time. Because I know that's always one of the things that irks me about any of these videos. Sometimes people just start talking about something and then they just trail off and never get back to it, and you wonder, oh man, what the heck were you talking about? Like, you're saying something about color, you're saying something about this or that. So yeah. I'm just gonna outline her tongue like that and kind of work some of the colors out. You can kind of see, it gets a little redder at the edges and whatever else. And this is what I'm talking about. With my saturation, is never really that hard, and that's one of the things that I want to work on. So by the end of this, she has nice golden hair, and my hair will probably be a little dimmer than hers. It's just something for me to work on. So it's actually a nice relation between like working on the edge, and how that transitions into the gold, into the white sheen of her hair. So something like that, I believe. I'll get my yellow a little too yellow. It's more of a, by the end of it, it's more of a brown. Like, about there. So yeah, just to touch on color one more time. The way to really get good with color and really get the eye for color is just to work with it, just to try to separate it as much as you can. Whenever you see color, especially in this is why you have to work from some reference images and all that kind of stuff. Whenever you see color, then you have to just kind of look at it just as its own little thing. Like my dark isn't dark enough, and that for my purposes it's fine at the moment. I can always go back and darken it in right there, like just like that. But you want to just try and isolate the color and just see it on its own, like this color right here. Now what am I looking for? Because I don't think it's in any of those ranges right there. I think it's more yellow. So I think it's closer to like this color right here. And it does help to see this little square here, just to give you an idea of where your color is. And you just look back and forth between the two, and you say, oh, this looks good, and all that kind of stuff. So going in, a little brighter yellow like that. And we get the little feathers and the leaves. You see, because in this drawing right here, the reason I like the face expressions and stuff like that, or at least in this case, is because it gives you kind of an idea of working with the subject. So here, I've kind of missed the basis of the, how she's emoting. I kind of got to get some of these lines a little better and all that kind of stuff. It would help if she had better eyes, that I'm drawing. I need to, get a little green going here, just to kind of show like where the eyes are in relation. And what I like about the blue one over here is that that's the alarm timer, let us know it's over. And just to finish up what I said about the eye, just a little glint right there to let you know that's still open. Alright, so that's the end of this recording session. So hope you guys have fun. Maybe follow along, learned a little bit, anything like that. Alright, take care. Bye bye.